is based around how can you score.
Looking for something to do.
And then once you make a score, then you go buy shit, basically, and have fun. And then you do the same thing over and over and over again.
Over and over. And in the evenings, it's go into town and, go to a club and take it over. Go into the champagne room and just take it over.
Like buy it all out.
Take the tab for the whole club.
Everybody loves you, kissing your ass until something happens, and then nobody's fucking there.
Yeah. And with the Jeeps, we'd beat the shit out of them until there was like one of them's good enough to get all 7 of us back to town. And we'd drive this thing back into town, park it and grab our shit and go home, and then at night it's like going to town, take 50, 60 grand into town with you at night, and just try to come back with, $11 and change.
and remember, this is the 80s.
This is the 80s.
Right? So,
there's some spending going on.
There's some spending going on.
Some serious, take the bar and, don't, top shelf, bottom shelf, I don't care what they're buying. Just, let me know when it runs out. If it runs out, and if it does, I'll throw some more on there. I'll get Jimmy, throw his 50 grand on there,
Out of all of it, is that what you miss the most? Just being able to just do whatever you want, when you want, buy what you want?
Yeah, I think that was the most fun of it all.
About the pirate thing. What is it like to be a pirate?
Well, I guess that viewpoint of mine doesn't come till in retrospect. When I look back on all of this stuff, and I think about the things that I did and things I got myself into, running the Caribbean in these southern waters with impunity, and having, when you go back and think about it in retrospect like that, my ass goes like that, thinking about all the stuff I got myself involved in, and we've always been called modern day pirates. Without the the traditional pirate theme and all that kind of stuff, but pirates by way of being able to get away with things in the Caribbean that most people weren't able to. Day in the life of a modern day Chokoloskee pirate, I guess, would be you wake up, you put on your jeans, you cut off jean shorts, and that's all. No shoes, no shirt, no nothing, and just cruise the island and find who's up, who's doing what, find somebody to burn one with, do a wake and bake, that kind of thing. Most of the days are spent, goofing off and primarily trying to figure out ways of how to spend money without having anything to show for it. That was something that the adults taught us early on. When you're in this game and you're just turned 20 and you're making, $100,000 a week, and you have this terrible urge at the beginning just to go, wow, I can go buy anything I want to, but then the adults kind of pull you back and rein you in, and they showed us how to spend money without having anything to show for it. So we would, a typical day would be, just for instance, I went into town one day just to go grocery shopping, and I passed the Taylor Chevrolet on the way out, and I saw this Corvette in the parking lot. And it was badass, man. It had big tires, it had mag rims, and it was, low profile and stuff, and I just wheeled in there to check it out, and turned out to be the owner of the dealership's son traded it in for something else, and it was for sale. And I said, I want that car. So I'm standing in there making out a deal to buy the car, and as I'm doing this, I'm calling a buddy of mine from Everglades. So I drove my Cobra into town, and I wasn't going to turn my Cobra in. I wanted that thing. So I called back to Everglades, and I asked a couple of my buddies, and I said, come on, I'll drive up here and take my Cobra back home. And as I'm on the phone, I'm looking out the parking lot, and they got like Jeeps, ragtop Jeeps for sale for under 10 grand. Brand new. You can buy a brand new Jeep for like $89.95 or some shit like that.
Now, what year is this right now?
This is 83, 84.
Oh shit! But $100 grand in 83, 84 is like half a mil right now, if not more.
When $17,000 a year was a good salary. See, in those days we were dealing with, they were all landrace strains.
What's that mean?
Landrace strains are the original strain. They're the original Punta Roja, the original Colombian Gold, the original Colombian Red. Those seeds. Now they've been contaminated and hybrided to a point where those landrace seeds are very, very hard to find. And if you can find them, you can pull out a pretty decent product. Now, comparing apples to peaches, there's really no comparison when you talk about potency. It ain't your daddy's weed they're selling today, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But back in the days when we're doing the Colombian weed, or we're picking from different spots around the Caribbean, particularly Jamaica. And the Jamaicans were really good at growing some really nice stuff. I mean, if they come out of Jamaica, you can probably, it ranks up there with the stuff that's out today. You know, because those Ethiopian Zions knew how to grow weed. Too.
So when you got that call or that whatever you had back, walkie-talkie, you know, you knew it was going to be a good one. Right?
Yeah, if we're going to Jamaica, it's going to be a good run.
So you would say if the runs were from Jamaica, it would be comparable to today's. But
Right.
at the time, being that because it was coming from Colombia, but now it's coming from Mexico.
Right.
But back then it was Colombia. That wasn't as good as today's.
No, gosh, no. We're talking about maybe 6-7% THC back in the day. To now they're up towards 30%
On regular, like dry?
on just bud.
30% on dry?
30%.
Wow.
They cracked that 30% mark about 3 years ago. The U.S. government and a lot of those people described as service providers. We never actually owned the shit. You know, we didn't want to own this shit.
Yeah.
We just wanted to move it. You know, we don't care about selling it and the hassle with all that bullshit. You know, just get it to point A to point B, and you pay us a flat fee
you're
for
out.
that, and we're done with it.
Yeah. Well, that's the
On
way
to
to
the
do it
next
if you're going to
load.
do it, right?
Yeah. So, you know, when it came to that and they got done with the cocaine guys over there, they said, you know, okay, let's have a look at what's going on over here, because they had an idea. The U.S. government had an idea about, you know, Everglades City and all the smuggling and this and that. But at that time, it was a lot of nobody really saw it. A load gets popped or somebody gets busted every once in a while, not very often, because they knew there was something happening there, but they didn't know the magnitude to which it was happening. They had no clue. When they popped the can open on that bad boy, whew,
Well, they knew.
shit come down, man. How we come to the name Saltwater Cowboy. I had been working for, you know, probably about a year, maybe not quite a year. And we go offshore, a typical run. Now we're doing, you know, my first time out, let me start with that. My first time out on this boat, just going out to go crab fishing. This is all I thought we were just going to crab fish.
Well, your friend comes to you and says, hey, do you want to go crab fishing? And you sign up to go crab fishing.
Right.
And then you go on the boat to go crab fishing, actually thinking that's what you're going to do. And he goes, hey, look, here's the deal. This is what we're doing. And you
Right.
say, okay. And then this goes on for, you know, whatever. And then one day you get a bag, right, with 10 grand in it. And you're like, shit.
Well, that was the first time out. The first time out, I woke up that morning and I knew that the scenario they had imparted to me about how this works is you wake up about, you know, dawn, just where you can see that first buoy and you start pulling traps.
That's fucking funny, man.
Well, I wake up and the sun's shining, and, like I said, I lean out of the bunk and I look up there as Captain, and he's sitting in a wheelhouse chair just grinning from ear to ear at me. And he goes, Timmy, he says, you know, we're not going to go pull traps today. He says, buddy, we're going to hang out here all day and we're going to unload a boat from Colombia tonight. And
Now, what are you thinking?
I went, oh, cool, okay. I didn't know. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek to them because, you know, they knew what was going on, but they wanted to surprise me, kind of Shanghai me, get me out there, and then tell me what was going on. They knew I'd be cool with it. Because
And how old are you at this time?
I just turned 21.
Just turned 21.
Yeah. And so I said, all right, cool, man. So, you know, we hung out there that day, and, you know, we go out and approach the boat. The first night was 15 tons.
Damn.
My first experience in unloading a boat.
That's a hell of a first experience.
Right. So we go out there, we pull up next to it, give the call signs. They tell us to come on, and we unload. We bring the shit in, and we bring it in as far as we can to the shoreline. And then once we get to the shoreline of the 10,000 islands, out come all the little boats. You know, 15, 20, 25 little T-crafts or little well boats that run through shallow waters. And they come around us and they start like flies on a garbage can, man. They just get two guys on each boat, one captain and one mate. The mate jumps on our big boat and starts throwing bales. And we just start making trips through the pass, through the islands to Chokoloskee Island, where we've got one of the houses where we've taken all our buddies' furniture out of the house and start loading the damn thing back to front, floor to ceiling, and stack it as full as we can get it. And this all has to happen between sundown and sun up. And then when sun up comes, that's when the shore crew takes over. Now, if the boat or the cars, the trucks or the vans or whatever it is we're using that next day didn't get loaded that night, because a lot of times they'd pull up, we'd load them, and they'd drive back into town and park in the driveway. Just sit there with a 2-meter radio waiting for the next day for their turn to get called out of town. And we start sending these things. Now, out on the water, we have what's called a chase
This is
boat.
generational.
Yes.
If you could elaborate on that so I don't jumble it all up, you know, but it's amazing.
Right. Yeah. No, there was 3 generations of us. The original pot hauler was Lauren Toch Brown. He's a legend in the Everglades. If you can Google that name, you'll come up with a lot of stuff. I mean, he's really highly respected, just a wonderful guy. You know, and those old timers back in those days, they didn't even smoke this shit.
What was his name, Tim?
Lauren Toch Brown.
Okay, we're going to Google
Toch
him.
is his nickname.
Yeah.
And
Why they call him Toch?
I don't know how he got that.
Just out of
This-
course. Yeah. I don't know
That-
why a
which-
lot of my friends are called names like you have like Fat Tim, and then you see Fat Tim, and Fat Tim isn't Fat Tim. Fat Tim isn't fat. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But okay, maybe he was. Maybe he went on to die.
Right. Well, he and his crew, got involved, and then
Is that him?
yeah, there's Mr. Toch. Yes, sir.
So
he is
Toch, if you're listening,
the
he's got a
legend.
book. That's the legend, and that is Toch Brown.
And unfortunately, he passed away in 96.
Sorry.
Just a
Sorry.
sweetheart of a guy.
Sorry,
And
yeah.
a lot of the family, a lot of the Browns, and a lot of Hamilton families, original families of the island, are still there.
Yeah.
And
Best of wishes.
I just
to
love
his
this old
family.
man. He was just the greatest guy to just sit and talk with.
So I could see it in your like body language.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And that's
So,
one
so
of the
he's like the goat.
yeah.
Like you would say nowadays, he's
the goat. Yeah, he
He's
would
the
be.
goat of
He
the
would be the
Everglades.
goat. Yeah, and eventually there came a group of brothers. There were 6 originally. One of the brothers passed away in early '80s, so there were 5 brothers, the Daniels brothers, and the youngest of the brothers befriended Toch, and Toch, kind of got him in the fold, hauling pot and stuff. And his brothers didn't want anything to do with it. They almost disowned him because of it. And he's showing up with, suitcases full of money and stuff like this, trying to get his brothers to say, at least, hey, take some money and get your kids bicycles or something.
Just do something, right?
Well, it didn't take long before eventually they start to relent and the brothers come on board. So now they're the second generation. They're taking over from Toch and his crew, and they take it up a step. They get a little bit better boats, they get a little bit, better organized and this kind of stuff like that. So they begin to have kids. Their kids grow up. They grow up. They're my friends. This is the third generation. So now that these fathers and uncles and older cousins and stuff have younger kids to do the work, we're doing the work. We're humping these bales. We're the ones out there offshore or inshore or moving the stuff around from house to house. 600, 700 to 800 to 1,000 bales, and we're moving them 2-3 times a night. You think the adults are doing this shit?
Hell no.
Fuck no, man.
They already put their time.
That's
in,
what we got
right?
you guys for. Yeah, they did their shit. They did their time. So consequently, the loads are getting bigger because the understanding of how it works is getting a little bit more comfortable with and that sort of thing. And then ultimately, the first Operation Everglades comes to bear in 1983, and this is when they first started opening up the can that they had no clue what was inside.
You get involved in it as heavy as you did. You don't even realize how
That's
deep
just how it was.
Yeah, like this is the life.
All we knew as kids were
yeah.
50, 60,000 pound loads. That was commonplace for us. It was just like, okay, another one.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate the awe, the shock and awe when people hear this. But this is what throws a lot of people off with the sheer volume. So like, yeah, right. But well, you know what? All I can say is look it up and check it. Check out the history of this because this is the absolute truth, man.
No, it's everywhere.
I mean,
if you just type in Mcbride marijuana. I mean, Google they shake it down.
Like
but
I showed you,
yeah.
Google Daniels Brothers /Everglades, and the first article that comes up talks about all their seizures and all they got involved with and all the holdings they had in Netherlands Antilles Holding Company in the Caribbean with property and cash and this and that. Property throughout the United States, airplanes, cars, buses, rental units, timeshares, and they also seized 580,000 pounds of Colombian weed.
I know. I saw.
And I keep saying, I know who has 500,000 pounds laying around. Well, we do, and that's just the way it was. So people hear this kind of stuff, and right away they're like,
Right.
I've lost them.
Yeah.
But then the story goes on, and and we talk about how how it's done, and the mechanics of it. And particularly with the generation that I learned from, my buddies and their fathers and uncles and cousins and things like that. There was such a family-oriented theme behind it that even when it came down to, say, corporal punishment or something like that, if you fucked up really bad, it wasn't ever nobody ever got their ass whooped, nobody ever got scolded, nothing like that. It was like, okay, Brown, you don't work for 3 jobs. Well, you just lost 150, 200,000 bucks, dude. You got your ass spanked.
Right. You almost rather be shot like in the leg or something, or a nice beating, right?
Right. And the thing about it is that here's a town of at that time was just under 600 people, and half or better of the town was involved. If somebody wanted, you know, like I said, they wanted 40,000, if there's 60,000 pounds, 30,000 pounds, it only cost $300,000. And, you know, the reason why, you know, and people ask me about, you know, weren't you scared of going down there? Weren't you afraid of the guns and this and that, you know, and the violence and that? And I said, well, you know what? Honestly and truthfully, at that level, there is no violence. And there's a very good reason for that. And one of the reasons is that I can take some cocaine cowboy in Miami's bar money, $300,000, which is nothing. And I can fly to Colombia and I can buy you 30,000 pounds of weed. And by the time it gets back into United States waters, it's worth $500 a pound. I only paid $10. So I've turned $300,000 into $15 million in 8 to 14 days. And that's typically the voyage from South America to South Florida, barring any weather patterns or unforeseen, you know, circumstances revolving that. We have anywhere from 8 to 10 people hired, $10,000 a day, just to drive to that plaza and back in staggered formation. So there's always somebody on the road with you. You're never alone.
You're always protected.
You're never alone. We know where every cop is, every sheriff, every highway patrol, every marine patrol, every national park ranger who's out there, because one of the Everglades National Park Rangers was on my crew. So we knew where everybody
I was just going to ask you, was there a lot of payoffs going on with law enforcement?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it's kind of funny because at that time, you know, I mean, Christ, you offer a guy 10 times his annual salary to go over here and sleep for 2 hours, you know, I mean, what the fuck you think he's going to do?
Yeah, right.
He's going to go over there and take a nap, you know, I mean, plus one of the guys on the crew's father was a sheriff deputy in town.
Oh, isn't that convenient?
When he was working, man, it was like the back door was open.
Yeah, it was like